Okay, well, welcome everyone. This is great, starting bang on 12:30. Excellent, well done. I wanted first of all to introduce what we do every Friday in terms of report out. So we've got two teams reporting out today. First of all, we've got critical care to neurosciences step-down value stream, and of course we all know how important this value stream is in terms of the relationship between critical care and neurosciences, and it's a great example of the two CSUs working well together. And it's fantastic that we've had the team working on RPIW 7. This is the seventh RPIW we've run as part of that value stream, which is great. Thank you very much for coming up to St James's, because I know you've been down at the LGI. So grateful to you coming up here, because we've got the trust board with us to view this, which is good. So no pressure. And we've also got an update on RPIW 4 in Ophthalmology Outpatient value stream, and also we're presenting a Lead for Leaders certificate as well. So, without further ado, can I welcome colleagues? Do you want to come forward and talk us through your RPIW week?
So hello, my name is Jimmy Parvin. I'm a KPO specialist and I've been workshop lead for this RPIW, which is focused on scheduling for patients in spinal and neurosurgery. On the screen, small, you can see it, is the high-level value stream map. So this value stream, as Julian's described, is about the step down of our patients from critical care into our neurosciences bed base. And this is our value stream map that describes the process. And it starts in the observations we've done in a critical care environment on L6-7. Where this team have started is upstream of that, because the senior decision makers thought, you know what, we need to get good stuff going in to get good stuff coming out. So what you're going to hear the team describe is about scheduling, and it's the first step that features somewhere to the left of the page. So this is our project form, which describes the who, what and why of our event. Our observations reveal a complex process has evolved. The information flow is unreliable. We see a huge burden of work for the scheduling team, who are beset by defects, by interruptions, and by a mismatch in skill-task alignment. The impact of this waste is on our patients, and it varies from the frustration of phone calls not being answered to being given really short notice for what is significant surgery, potentially even as far as cancellations on the day of their surgery. So our theme for this event, as shaped by our sponsor for this, Chris Jones, how do we get it right first time, every time, across all parts of this process? We want to ensure an outstanding patient experience that's provided by a team that's confident, connected, and empowered to do their work.
So hello, my name is Natasha, KPO Facilitator and Team Lead for this RPIW. This is our target progress report. In our planning meetings, the workshop lead, team lead, sponsor and process owner select metrics by which we might measure our success. Lead time was the obvious one. We know that particularly in spinal surgery, our patients are waiting a long time. But the big one for us was defects. We can speed the process up, but without first removing those defects, we'd be doing our patients a disservice. So we choose to look at getting the bed level right every time, getting the patient on the phone the first time, every time, when we're giving them their surgery date, and to make sure that we set our colleagues up as well, so whether we have missing information on TMS. This is our takt time calculation, so we now know that to meet the pace of our demand, we need to put a patient through our process every 225 minutes.
Hi, I'm Crystal, I'm the Business Manager for Spinal Surgery. The current state at the moment is this value map sort of identifies all of the hoops our theatre scheduling team have to jump through just in order to try and schedule a patient. Our team at the moment are almost putting together a large jigsaw that's really complex, so they're trying to find out the correct theatre, correct anaesthetist, try and sort them out of the correct bed, We've got scans, consent forms and booking forms that are out of date. We need to consider the urgency of a patient. We need to think about length of wait. So there's all these things that we've got to think of before we can even tell that patient that actually we're ready to see you. When we do try and contact the patient, 65% of them aren't picking up the phone first time. So it's trying to get the communication to those people as well. When we do get through to them, we've got a lot of queries from the patients, and that can be about medicines and all sorts of things like that. Once we've solved that and we've actually got them scheduled, things can change last minute, so we can have an urgent patient rushed in, which means that patient can't be seen. We can end up losing notes, or the patient can be unfit. This has a knock-on effect for a lot of the other teams, not only the patient, but those trying to sort out beds and going forward into the future.
Hello, my name is Tracy Downing. I'm a business manager in Head and Neck, and I've been looking at our future state, and we'll identify our patients using the RTT booking tool, scheduling our longest waiting patients first. The use of this tool also allows the scheduling management teams to share information regarding patients, including easy identification of patients who are available at short notice to replace last-minute cancellations. A small sample of patients were surveyed in the pre-assessment clinic, and that showed a preference for receiving their admission information via letter or text. With this in mind, and to give our patients sufficient notice, we'll be moving to fix booking our patients by letter with at least 4 weeks' notice, as well as the use of the text reminder service. Our future aim is to give our patients sufficient notice, provide direction, leadership and support to the scheduling teams, as well as reducing the number of interruptions they receive.
Hello, my name's Guy and I'm an intensive care consultant. In many ways, my job's very simple. I can help decide who can come to critical care, what we can do for them while they're in critical care, and when it's safe to send them back to the ward. As part of this, I take overall responsibility for making sure the right patient gets into the right bed, be that a level 0 or ward bed, a level 1 or high observation bed where they can receive enhanced monitoring and nursing care, a level 2 or HDU bed where they can receive invasive monitoring or simple organ support, or level 3 or intensive care where they can receive complex organ support. Unfortunately, this terminology is often inconsistently or even incorrectly applied. This leads to confusion at all levels of the process. Every morning, I'm faced with a complex situation with multiple competing priorities, be that emergency versus elective work, patients that are already with us versus patients that place a future demand on our service. In the current state, I have very little information to answer these questions that are very important to our patients. If information is the currency of good decision making, every morning I feel poor. As part of this RPIW, I think we've made significant progress to improving this situation.
Hello, my name's Sophie Warboys and I'm a patient flow coordinator for adult critical care. On-the-day additions for adult critical care beds result in increased risk of theatre delays and on-the-day cancellations. Since January, that's 93 out of 208 patients that have been on-the-day additions. In an audit of booking forms and pre-assessment documents, 11% had the incorrect level of care highlighted on the booking form, and often the free text within the pre-assessment document was ambiguous. This would left it up to the scheduler to make the final decisions with their limited medical knowledge. If we eliminate these mistakes, then the number of on-the-day additions should significantly reduce. This is what we see when we get the report for the patients that require a critical care bed on the morning. As you can see, the comments boxes are empty. The comments that are in the box are an important tool used by the patient flow team and the clinicians as a final check to ensure that the patient is booked into the correct level bed on the correct unit. When this information is not present, it can lead to multiple phone calls and trawling through PPM to fill in the blanks. The schedulers have access to all of the data required in this field to hand when they are entering the patient on TMS. From this week, they now use a template to ensure that all the information is entered when they are booking a patient into a level 2 or a level 3 bed. Our colleagues at Head and Neck have also taken this on, and hopefully in the future this can be shared throughout all CSUs.
Hello, my name's Jackie Wilkins. I'm one of the sisters in the pre-assessment clinic at the LGI Band Wharfdale and a team member for this RPIW. The pre-assessment services are going to clarify the instructions to aid the schedulers in the allocation of an appropriate bed, whether that be a level 0 OBS, HDU or ICU bed. The visual prompts, notes have been placed on all the computers in the pre-assessment clinic to enforce this as standard practice. Like critical care pre-assessment, offer a service to multiple specialities, and we intend therefore to undertake this for all of our patients, not just for the neuro and spinal patients, hoping that this will also relieve the demand for HDU beds or high level beds. And we are also working towards digitalising the process.
Hello, my name is Holly Ainsworth. I'm a theatre scheduler for neuro and spinal surgery. A scheduler's job is a tricky one. Like Crystal said, we describe it as a 1,000-piece jigsaw. Only throughout this jigsaw we will experience interruption after interruption, slowing down our flow of work. A few of these interruptions we've actually tackled this week. For example, we get constant calls regarding medical advice. In order to give the patient this information, we will have to explain to them over the phone that we cannot answer their question and would have to seek medical advice. We will then have to email a consultant or medical professional and then wait for their reply, and only then we can call the patient back with the correct information. Stepping out of the process and looking in, we realised we were actually inviting our patients to contact us with these queries by the numbers we were inputting on our letters every single day. During this week we've now found appropriate contact numbers and we've amended these letters. Another main source of interruptions regarding patient phone calls is about wait times. We get a lot of calls from quite a lot of the time the same patients about how long they've been waiting, in which they'll close the call by saying, well, I'll call you again next week, or even I'll call you again tomorrow. To reassure our patients that we've not forgotten about them, we've developed a letter that we will send out on a regular basis, updating our patients on the current wait times. This will give our confidence to our patients that they won't get lost in the system, and it still allows us to have that regular contact with them. We've also found that each scheduler will make 1,248 steps per day to pre-assessment alone. That's 2 trips a day for 4 schedulers. It's without a doubt the most active office job I've ever had. But this week we asked the question, could this be done in 1 trip per the whole team a day? Turns out putting a system in place to tackle this would actually be quite easy, especially in the future state. We've looked into creating a system using a power hour at the start of each day to gather things that need to go to pre-assessment and information that needs picking up from pre-assessment. In order to assist this power hour, we've created a production board, which is a draft on the screen there. This will include information such as our capacity, which will help our colleagues understand how far ahead we are and display where they can show their support. A tracker to further show in depth where with our work we are and how many patients we need to fill each list. It will also have things like useful information, which could include tracking codes or helpful numbers, or in fact an overview on the bed levels that we've spoken about, and also waiting list information to allow any one of us to give information about each consultant's longest wait times over the phone, including consultants we don't schedule for. And we also would include handover tasks, which is an idea that's actually been brought forward by the system we already use, in which we can leave specific handover tasks for the rest of the team when they're on annual leave or out of the office. The power hour will be run by one of the scheduling team to make sure we're only covering information that we need and that will be helpful for us. And this sort of information will include a brief overview of what we'll need to achieve in the power hour, a plan for the week that can be interchanged at any point due to the capacity, and that will designate tasks such as the previously mentioned trip to pre-assessment, taking notes to the ward and collecting notes from clinic appointments. We would also discuss what times these tasks need to be completed by. And we can also organise protected time during this to help focus our workflow and really escape the interruptions and distractions.
back to our target progress report. This week was a great learning opportunity, particularly for me. What do you do when the team are so brave and bold in their future state that how you thought you might measure your success is no longer really that helpful? The phone calls, for example, are we getting a hold of the patient the first time on the phone call? We listened to what they wanted. They don't want a phone call, they want a letter. It's no longer applicable. So what we have done is have a think about what we might measure from here on out. So take, for example, is the date offered to the patient the correct date for them? That's quite binary. So a more patient-focused thing going ahead would be to measure how far in advance we're letting them know their date. Therefore, they can arrange transport, they can arrange childcare, the things that they really worry about. One of the things on there is the lead time. Sometimes our lead times go up in order to get it right. And what we found is by using that booking tool, it's really focusing on the long waiters. So our lead time has increased, but what we hope to do at 30 days is come back with some really robust measures that show the impacts of the new brilliant future state.
Just when we're thinking about the implementation of the future state as well, we've still got quite a lot to do. We're going to continue to look at best practice, keeping these guys involved and taking their opinions, and we need to make sure that we keep communicating all of this between us and making sure all the information is clear. We need to keep the patients involved as well and get feedback from the patients as we're changing all this. We need to be looking at our standard operating procedures and updating them as we go. We also need to carry on asking for help from other departments and other people. And again, we just need to be getting the feedback from everybody involved in the process to check that it's working from us all. On our newspaper, we've got some highlights coming up in terms of standardisation of work, so we need to be working with our medical teams and our other administrative teams just to make sure we've got everybody on board with that, and currently they're really engaged with all that.
So that leaves me to share some key learning, which is pausing on the screen, sorry about that. So MURI is a Japanese word, and it means the waste of unreasonable expectation. And what we learn by looking carefully is that that can create a culture of mistrust and mistakes. You've heard the team describe visual control, so a production board, some alerts to people in clinic, really simple but effective measures that allow us to get things right first time, or maybe have clarity when we go off track so that we can respond appropriately in a timely manner before we get so deep into the problem we can't see a way out and getting off the hamster wheel. It's come back for me, so I think standard work you've heard Crystal describe. We've done some great stuff this week, and there are some formative versions of standard work there, but we want everybody to be doing it the best way we know now, and for that there's a commitment going forward to communicate that to all the people involved. We talked a little bit about silos, and I've said it before at Report Out, and it remains applicable. We work very hard sometimes looking down on our bit of the process and getting it right for us right here, right now, but our patients experience our process through many CSUs through their journey. And so really with our improvement work, this is a demonstration of if you put the people in the process together, they can see how their bit influences the next and how all of that can build towards a fantastic patient experience. So thank you for your time and attention, and thank you to the home team, some of which you've joined us. We've interfered and got in their way and been in their kitchen this week, and they've been very tolerant of that. We have left them a bit of food as well, so it's not all bad. So thank you very much. There's a few other notable mentions. Chris as a sponsor, some good push as ever, helping the team to think what could this look like, and that can be really tough for people when they're stuck on that hamster wheel of fighting fires. Notable others there on the screen. So thank you very much. That concludes our report out.
Busy week. Hey, fantastic. I mean, there's loads in there, and I'm sure when we come to the Q&A part of reporting, there'll be lots of questions. But I just wanted to highlight how impressed I was to hear about the kind of patient focus you had on this in terms of thinking about that and understanding the impact and how that works. I think, Guy, your description of how it feels on a daily basis and the importance of having the right information to make those key decisions, and as ever, the point you made, Jimmy, about the kind of confluence of all of the roles that everyone plays together to looking at the patient's experience and how we improve that and take out the waste and inefficiency and duplication. And Holly, I love the idea of the power hour.
Yeah, it's great.
Great. So yeah, be really interested at your 30-day report out to see how that is going. So thank you and well done. Okay, and everyone else, save those questions for Q&A. So next up, we've got an update on the Ophthalmology Outpatient Value Stream RPIW 4 outcome forms update, and we've got Caroline, I think, to give us an update on that. Caroline.
Hello, my name is Caroline Barley. I'm the outpatient site manager for St James's, and I'm one of the process owners of this value stream, along with Mr Michetti, one of the ophthalmology clinicians. So in terms of an update, we've been doing a lot of work since our report out a few weeks ago, and really things have taken off significantly since then, which has been fantastic. So in terms of an overview of the original purpose of the RPRW, was around the outcome form in the ophthalmology clinic, and what we were looking to do was we were aiming to get more outcome forms returned to the reception desk, so we could do live cash up on the day, and to reduce any kind of bottlenecks in terms of those forms being kept in clinic rooms unnecessarily, or going missing, or being incomplete. So that was our focus of the work, and the RPLW has been working with the ophthalmology team down in clinic, and the initiative team as well, and it has been really a collaborative approach between both teams. So those are our overall aims, and the really importance of the outcome form is kind of making sure that those successful outcomes for the patient are recorded on PAS in a timely manner, and it means the patient can have the outcomes they need recorded in live time as soon as possible, and it means they can go onto the appropriate waiting list, and then appointments that are required can be booked from then, and it also means that patients don't get lost to follow up, and they have the appropriate TCIs or outpatient appointments that are required. So the outcome form in the patient pathway is a key part of that process, and you know, it ensures that we give the correct follow-up care to that patient in the time that is needed. So in our last RPRW, I went through the measures that we collated back then, and we did see some significant changes, which was fantastic. And we noted that a lot more forms were coming back to the desk and were being completed and being cashed up in live time. And from looking at those figures, we didn't have any that weren't returned. And our focus with this RPOW was solely Mr Micchetti's clinic. So the ophthalmology CSU is one of our biggest CSUs from an outpatient perspective. So we had to home in on one particular clinic and one particular clinician, and these measures are from Mr Micchetti's clinic. So in terms of the work that we've done since, which is what I'm here to update you on, what we found when I was doing the re-measures was that the outcome form, which was redesigned and signed off as part of the original IPRW work last year, was parts of it that were incorrect. What it meant was that from a data quality perspective, patients' pathways were open on PAS and should have been closed, and the appropriate RTT codes weren't included on that form, and that came back through some work the data quality team shared with us. But the key learning that we found from that last year was that the key stakeholders need to be involved in the RPRW weeks, and ophthalmology management team and data quality team, from a management perspective, weren't involved in that original week, and what we found was that the key individuals weren't there in terms of ensuring that work was signed off and that form was correct from a quality perspective. So what it meant was that form was in circulation for that clinic, and when it came for me doing the re-measures, I noticed the errors, the codes didn't match up with the correct pathways, so it meant patient pathways were open when they should have actually been closed. What I decided to do was work with the ophthalmology CSU, the management team, Danny Wignall and Rachel, to redesign that form, and we had to pull that form and redesign something which was correct and was appropriate. And that's what we did. We redesigned the form. I have sent an attachment for the form, so I can show you what the form looks like. I don't know if it's up there at all. Yes, so that's the form that we redesigned. And what we did was we put that into circulation, and we wanted to get some feedback from the clinicians and from the admin team as to how they found that form. Was it simple to fill in, which was what our aim was? Did it follow a logistical way in terms of filling it out in clinic when you're rushed for time? And did it incorporate all the outcomes from an outpatient perspective but a TCI perspective that were needed for that CSU? And we got some great feedback from the clinicians as to what we needed to amend, what we needed to change and include, and that's what we did. We went away and we made those changes, and then we put that back into circulation. And what we found was that there was still some work that we needed to do on it in terms of the layout and the flow of the form, and making it more appealing to the eye in terms of how that's meant to be filled in. And part of our work then was, well, where do we go to next, and who can we work with? And we worked with the data quality team, Roberta Haley and Sarah Johnson's team. We paired up with them as part of the live cash-up week, which ophthalmology and neurosciences were involved in. And that perfect week really tied in with the work that we were currently doing in terms of looking at the outcome form. And the data quality team made some further suggestions based on the form that we created as to where we need to go next in terms of improving that. And this is where we've got the new form. So it's a significant change from this to this. And it looks like it's a lot more information on there, but what it now does is it sections out the patient pathway and provides a lot more clarification in terms of filling out the form in more of a step-by-step process, and it has a much better flow to what the original form had. I took this form yesterday to ophthalmology audit meeting to the clinicians, and we had a great response and feedback as to this is the form going forward that we need. So that was really reassuring. So our plans are going forward is to pilot this across the whole of ophthalmology as the new outcome form, not just Mr. McKetty's clinic, but across the whole CSU. And this really brings in best practice in terms of an outcome form. Across the trust, we have a number of different outcome forms for different CSUs, all in a different layout, all kind of in different ways. And what we want to do is build a best practice outcome form that we can share with other CSUs and say, this really works, this is clear, this incorporates exactly what you need from a patient pathway perspective and from a follow-up perspective. And this is what we've got to go with, and I think it's a fantastic piece of work. And you know, I'm incredibly grateful to the data quality team for their input and the ophthalmology management team as well, and the clinicians. So our next steps are to make the final amendments that the clinicians have suggested from yesterday's audit meeting, and to go live in 2 weeks, and to roll this form out. So we have got, this is for an open pathway, we have got one for a closed pathway as well, and to take some remeasures in terms of how that form has gone. And going back to our original focus, which was ensuring that forms get back to our reception desk in good time, are completed, and everything's eligible really in terms of what the patient needs next. So those are our next steps. So our key learning. So our key learning, having been part of this RPIW and relaunching it, I think goes back to the original RPIW, ensuring that we've got those key stakeholders, and having the ophthalmology management team there, and also data quality, because they played such a key part in this process in terms of getting our outcome form, moving things forward. But also ensuring that we have clear quality checks in an RPIW week, and ensuring that if things are signed off, it's been signed off by the appropriate departments as well. And I think I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the data quality team for their input in creating that form with us, and also my admin team as well. We've got some members of staff at the back who've come today. their suggestions and recommendations from working with the outcome form and updating those details on PAS has been really valuable, because we know from, they do a patient-focused and centred role. They see patients daily, how they feel this form is best going to work on the floor, and that's been really valuable as well. So I'd like to thank you for that. Thank you.
Well done. Well done, Caroline. You presented that really well, really clear, and I think well done for working on it. And I think there's a connected theme to the RPIW we just heard about, in terms of the importance of information, the importance of really good administrative processes that support clinical outcomes. Think about the volume of information we collect across the whole organisation. It's huge, and the way we do that and making it easy to get that and process that is really, really key. So great work, and looking forward to seeing how this works in terms of the pilot and how we spread that and how we make that standard work. So great stuff. Okay, and I'm sure you'll get 1 or 2 questions. So. Right, so we're up to the third part of today's report out, which is always a pleasure. It's the awarding of a Lean for Leaders certification. So it's my pleasure actually to return the compliment to Yvette. So Yvette, would you like to come out? And I'd like to award you with your Lean for Leaders certificate. So well And what I would say is the two of us have been on this journey around sort of similar timelines and compared notes about the experience. And I thought, Yvette, you might want to share a little bit about as we do with Lean for Leaders, about how it's been, what you've learned, what difference it's made to how you work.
So I am very pleased and proud to receive my certificate today. Thank you. I absolutely loved all of the Lean for Leaders modules, and it was really inspirational to sit with my other cohort members, and I did do it as part of a regular cohort, so there were at least a dozen of us, I think, that used to see each other regularly. And it was really great to hear what they were doing, to learn about some of the processes in our organisation that must drive people mad and slow us down. But and so that was always a highlight of the modules. But I suppose what I learned for myself is that the project that I chose was the signing off of complaint responses to patients or families who complain. And we've been doing it on a paper-based way, and sometimes I would want to make some changes to the letter or ask some questions, and that would mean these letters were signed in, signed out half a dozen times really along the process. And I thought before, why couldn't this just be sent digitally, and then I could make any little corrections before they were signed off. However, what I really learnt was that I needed to go and speak to the team who sent them up, and embarrassingly, the team that's processed the final letter just beneath my office, 1 floor down, and I had never been to speak to them about how that process worked. So going to their Gemba, hearing about how they processed the letters, going then to their team meeting to talk to all of them and their leader about what it would be that could be like in a different way, and hearing that actually some of them had thought it might be good to be electronic but didn't know if we would like it, was very eye-opening for me. And now if a letter comes and we do it digitally, and Lisa does it as well, if we think, I'm not sure about that, I just actually pop down 1 flight of stairs and speak to the team. And occasionally we have complainants where we have reached an impasse with them, and we're going to suggest to them that their next step might be the Ombudsman. I really like to check off that we have done everything before we're sending that letter, because usually we get Julian to sign that one. And so it's been really, really good to do the standard observations, to make those changes. And then for me personally, my own production board helps me every week, and my people link board, I now meet regularly with the head of risk, the head of research, and the head of education. And we don't do it as frequently as perhaps people link should be done, but we have made significant changes together. So that's been my learning. I've loved it. And my last tip is that when you get module 6, you get loads and loads of documents. And if you look carefully amongst that calendar invites, there is one document that is the PDF that's a combination of them all. And I found it much easier actually to print off that document and to check off what I needed to do. And I was, if I'm honest, I was overfaced by the number of documents in the calendar invite, and I could have perhaps completed my my final Gemba work in a more timely way if I'd only realised that. So that's my top tip.
Great, well done. Well done. And just picking up the point about your production board, you were the first of us to get your production board up, and we did spend some time as a guiding team in your office where you took us through that production board, and it was really good to see how you've got all of those key components of your work mapped out that you can use with your teams in education, research and so on. So really good, excellent. So that concludes the report outs for today. For this week's report out, opportunity for questions and answers. So just a reminder, we've had colleagues reporting out on critical care to neurosciences step down, RPIW, the ophthalmology work, and we've got members, as Caroline said, we've got colleagues that have joined us at the back. Thanks for coming, guys, to talk about the work in ophthalmology. And we've got Yvette's qualification as Lean for Leaders, which is terrific. So questions, we've got a combination of exec sponsors as well as CDs and GMs and heads of nursing from the relevant CSUs also supporting this, and obviously we've got the board. So questions, who'd like to kick off? Claire.
So I'm the exec sponsor for this value stream, for the neurosciences and critical care value stream, and I went on Wednesday to have a look and see what work was, how bad they'd got and how they were progressing. And I have to say, when I walked in, and admittedly you were just coming up to lunch, so but the energy that you had in that room and the enthusiasm that you had to actually do something different to make it better for our patients was absolutely brilliant. And I thought it was one of those moments when you see the actual current state on the wall with all those post-its and all the steps and all the processes and all the actions that you take, and then looking at your future state, which is so streamlined, and just by working together in a different way, and how much safer that makes it for our patients as well. And that's the word you used with me, Holly, I think, wasn't it, in terms of safety for our patients. My question is, because we've got Tracy from Head and Neck here, and obviously we've got critical care, we've got neurosciences as CSU, we've got another CSU as well. Just your observations of bringing in another CSU and how that's helped or supported you to move forward with the RPIW?
I found it really useful too, and for me I think there's an area to work on with all the surgical specialities when they're doing theatre scheduling around best practice, because Tracy's already got a system that works quite well in her CSU, and we haven't really had any of that. We've taken quite a lot of stuff from you, haven't we? So for us that's been invaluable.
Great. Chris, you had your hand up.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Chris Jones, sponsor for this RPIW. Often it's really difficult to release the clinical team and consultants for almost a full week, and I just wanted to get a gauge from Guy how it's been, what his reflections are, and then equally from the team how valuable his input has been throughout the week.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's been a great experience, great learning experience, really to learn about the methodology. It's you know, it's been really nice to be able to as well interact with a team that kind of I wouldn't have even known kind of existed, to be perfectly honest. You know, that we would have, in our kind of routine work, we'd have never crossed paths. And I think it's really good. It's forged some links, and I hope they all know now that if there's anything I can do to help in the future, I'm just a phone call away.
And it was really helpful having you on our team, that you would just, it was then, I wonder if any of the spinal consultants will agree on this letter, guy, just give them a ring, because you work closely with them, so, and for many aspects of it you did that, didn't you? I'll just leave up to theatres and ask them.
Great. Simon, Jenny, Steve.
Okay, so Simon, Head of Nursing for Adult Critical Care. So it's an observation really, this was something that sits on our value stream. This was when you first suggested this, it was oh my god, we can't, it's massive.
Yes.
This is just absolutely demonstrating today that the use of the method works. But it's the right thing to do, but it's just having the faith, I think, to go with it. I mean, you know, we've discussed this many times, this approach, and this is the first time as well with 2 CSUs combined for this value stream, but actually this is many, many different teams, which again, at those value stream meetings was can't do this. And it's absolutely fantastic that you've done that. I suppose it's now just sustaining and keeping the momentum, but a massive well done, and thank you, because this will make such a difference, not just to critical care, but to our scheduling.
Great, thanks Simon. Thank you. Jenny?
So I wanted to echo that bit about the 3. I thought that was absolutely brilliant, and I'm loving the way that we're getting more and more and more ambitious with this, pushing the boundaries. I guess the other bit I just wanted to say was to Caroline. Where's she gone? So thank you so much. So I'm the exec sponsor for this value stream, and this is a value stream that faltered. It faltered because we had turnover and we hadn't really thought about how we were going to sustain the work if people leading the work left. So there was that's taught us a lot in terms of what we do when we're thinking through who's picking up lead roles in this work. So thank you so much for getting it to where you've got it to. You and Mr. McKetty have done a superb job. I guess just one question for you. Love the new form. Really liked that we've managed to make sure that the outcome forms are 100% coming back for Mr. McKetty's clinics. How are we making sure that that's going to be the case when we scale up? Because the bit that I just found so profoundly worrying when I first heard this was if that form doesn't get back, the potential outcome or lack of outcome for a patient could be quite poor. So how are we making sure that that green stays green as we're scaling up?
So I think as we're doing our scale up, so when we kind of run this new form out across the whole CSU, I think what we need to focus on is taking more re-measures. So not just focusing on Mr. McKetty's clinic. And I think how we can do that is by looking at our daily cash up report and highlighting particular clinics that we then need to focus on as well, to look at where we're not getting the forms back and where the cash up is incomplete. So I think with our re-measures, we need to scale the re-measures up as we scale the form out to the whole CSU, and find out, as with our quality measures, are we finding the same results that we have been with Mr. McKetty's clinic? And are things continuing to improve across the CSU, or do we need to home in on then certain clinics to then find out how we can improve things further?
Great, thanks. Steve?
Hello, my name is Steve Wilson, I'm Clinical Director of the Neuroscience Service, and I really wanted to echo what Simon said. I was actually stunned by the complexity of the board that was up on Wednesday when I went down there, but also quite encouraged by the simplicity of the future state. This is mission critical for us, as everybody knows. It's no mystery where we are with spinal surgery. So I also wanted to say thank you to the team, because they've taken time out from what has been a very difficult period for spinal surgery to do this piece of work. But without doing this piece of work, we're never going to be able to achieve the outcome that we need to by the end of March, but also the sustainability of that going forward. And I'm just really pleased that they've had the opportunity to present that work at this report out which has been attended by so many of the exec and the trust board, because it's the most ambitious RPIW we've ever done. I think it's probably one of the most ambitious ones that the trust has ever embarked upon. It crosses so many different CSUs, so many different parts of the service, and I know they've struggled to get the inch-wide bit. I'm not sure they've got there, to be honest. I think it's still quite a lot more than an inch wide. But just a big thank you. It's hugely important for us.
Fantastic. Thank you, Steve, and thank you for, you know, the unstinting leadership you and the TRI team are giving this, in combination with Crit Care colleagues as well, because I know this is, as you say, when we had our meeting with our regulators, the importance of us stressing to them, this is how we're going to get at this problem. It's through improvement, it's through engagement, it's through the kind of working through those key processes that is set out. Okay, so I've got a couple of hands. I've got Jazz and then Andy.
So I was going to ask a question, and I'm glad, Jenny, you asked the question, Caroline, to yourself. And the question was, looks good, the changes that you've made definitely make sense. Why can't we turn paper into digital? And then it takes the problem away of tracking whether you've got it back or not.
Absolutely.
And if it's a prioritization issue, then I'm assuming, Andy, that this is one of those where it's a no-brainer for me. Right? Which is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I think digital definitely is our next steps. We, as part of our digital strategy in outpatients, the outcome form for outpatient admin is a key part of that, and it is on there to be looked at. It is currently with the development team at the moment in terms of them putting together the digital outcome form, and that will be for ophthalmology. So we're starting off with that CSU, getting the standard form right on paper, and then moving that into a digital form. And I think in terms of the key part of the process from a quality perspective, paper can go missing. The digital form will always be on there, and we can trace that and track that a lot quicker. And I think that's where we need to go in the future. So it is in the pipeline. It is with the development team and with PPM. I think for us, it's getting it up the priority list as we're all competing.
What an opportunity!
Andy? Yes, well, absolutely, fantastic. And just to echo the congratulations on all the process improvements in such a short time. We know that changing the business process and then digitising is probably the best way of making the most efficiencies, as opposed to just replicating what's been done previously.
Yeah.
So just to echo that, and also in terms of the communications to the patients as well, with the patient letters that you talked about, that's ripe for different mediums, text or portals. So lots of digital vision, but fantastic improvements in the first place.
Great. So one more question, because we are over time.
It's just a comment really, actually, is that outcome form is also meaningful to the patient, and so we mustn't just digitalise something without involving the patients.
Great. Absolutely. So last part of today was for me to award the certificate of participation to colleagues that have been involved in this week's RPIW. So if you could all come forward, and we're going to get a photo, I think, all of us. Yeah. So if you all come forward, those of you that have done the RPIW.
And the official photographer. Oh, no.
Well done, guys. Great job.
Okay, that's it for this week. See you next time. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you. Well done. Appreciate that.
Excellent.
Still next. You have it all up together. No, this team, Tash and I work together. Not in this format.